I believe in God, but a different God, not the God we learn in church, like a man judging what we do in our lives. I believe that God is like everything, everything. Like this spoon is a God, this plant in my table is a God. I am a God, you are a God. Like every single part of the universe.
Okay, but to be God, you have to be all powerful, right? You have to have all
Okay.
power. Now, that spoon or this coaster is not all powerful. It's weak. It can't do anything. It can only sit there, right? So in order to be God, God is all powerful. Do you understand?
I can, but I really, really believe that everything made is a part of God. Like it's a part of God, and God is the everything. And
Right. But
I don't
imagine
know. I
if
believe it.
I said everything is orange, the color orange, right? And so
Okay.
therefore, I say, well, this is orange, everything is orange. Well, it actually really devalues what orange really is, right? If everything is orange, then you're not really making any distinction between what's orange and not what's not orange. And so if you're saying everything is God, then you're actually really devaluing what God is by saying it's just everything.
I disagree.
Because do you agree that the universe had a beginning?
Sorry.
So do you agree that the universe had a beginning, had a
Oh
start?
my! I think that question is understandable for humans because our life have a start and I innate
And, yep,
in a
yes,
and
and, yes.
so it's very hard to try to think what is have no beginning or have no end, you know.
All right,
So
but what we do
I
know,
think it's part of the process. Sorry,
is
go
that
ahead.
everything that exists to, relies on something before it to make it exist, right? So if in order to have
Yes.
something today, there need to be something before it that made it happen. And so in order for there to be a universe, then the universe had to have something before it to make it exist. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
And
And
therefore, rather than the universe being God, it'd make much more sense that the creator of this universe would be God.
but who create God? So
So God is outside of time. And so therefore because he's outside of time, he just always exists. He never has a beginning. He's eternal. Do you understand?
yes, but if he's outside of time, where
Yep.
is he?
Well, if he's outside of time, he's outside of the universe because he's not physical. He's not like this coaster here. This is physical. But with God, he's not physical, right? He's spirit. Yeah.
I believe that is spirit and physical and everything, and the time, and the air, and the energy, and the warmth, like everything, including the time.
Right. Right. I guess the thing is though is that if the universe had a beginning, which we do know, then the universe is a created thing. And created things cannot be God. Because to be God,
To be
you
honest,
have to always exist.
sorry. To be honest, I think the universe has no beginning. Like I can explain or discover what how
Well,
everything starts.
even for example, you and me, we had a beginning. Do you agree with that?
No, because we have no beginning. We have like a transformation,
No, no, no.
a
Did you
transformer.
did you get born?
No, because
Yeah,
you
you had to
know,
get born. You had to be born from your mother.
but
Yeah,
and before this,
right?
I was, I was no. It's just transformers. Like
But
we
we're not
don't.
talking about the atoms you're made up of. I'm talking about you as a person. Did you exist as a person before you were conceived?
Yes, but
No, we didn't
so
exist as a
it's
person, right?
limited.
Which means
Like a
since
person, it's a
which
limit.
means I understand, but
It's limited.
yeah, yeah, which means we're not God then. If we were born, if we didn't always exist as a person, then we're not God, right? If you were
We
God, if
we
you were
doesn't
God, you'd know everything, which you don't. I don't know everything. We're not God.
we know everything. Like know in our
No, no, I'm
conscience,
saying,
but we had in the
do
um,
you know absolutely everything there is to know?
I'm a part of God, so I know a part of everything. And
No, but then
we
that's the issue, is that if you don't know everything personally, then you're not God.
so what is God for you?
So, logically, God would have to be the maker of the entire universe. And this is why it's important, because God then gets to set the rules for what we should or shouldn't do in the universe. And so then after we die, he can judge us to see whether we've lived according to his rules or whether we haven't. And so would you say that you're a good person?
Yes, I
Yep.
can
All right.
say
So like for example, have you ever lied before?
yes,
Yeah, me too. Have you ever used bad language?
yes.
Yep. What about this one? Have you ever been rude or disrespected someone before?
Oh my God, maybe this is my biggest problem. I have
Right.
when I'm angry, I used to be rude,
Yeah.
including with the people that I love, and
Yeah.
that's very very sad.
Yeah, yeah, I've done the same. And so, if the Creator was going to judge you and me based on those things, would we be innocent or guilty?
I believe that God is a good person to forgive us,
I agree God can
to
be forgiving, but at the same time, because He's good, He's also got to punish those that do bad. Like, imagine if a judge in a court of law let all the criminals go free with no punishment at all. It says, it doesn't matter what you've done, you're free to go. Would that be a good judge or a bad judge?
in the human laws, it will be a bad
Hmm,
judge, but
exactly. And so God's not going to act in a bad way. He's not a bad judge. Because he has his own law, he can't just automatically forgive everyone because that wouldn't be justice, right?
you believe that we will return to earth in another body.
No, I think we're going to be raised back to life in kind of like the same body or a come back alive body, and then we'll be sent to either God's prison, which we would, I guess, call hell, or God's paradise, which we would call heaven, right?
So who is going to the hell will be in the hell forever.
Correct. Yes.
Forever.
Yeah, because it shows to us how serious God takes sin. He doesn't think it's like a small little thing. He considers it to be huge, massive, right? And
But
so
forever.
I know. That's why I don't want you to go to hell. That would be really bad. But
No,
what we
I don't want to.
exactly, but there is a way to go to heaven. But we first of all got to realize that because we've done lots of bad things, we've got to be punished by God, and that punishment is hell. Do you understand?
Yes.
So what could you do now to not end up in hell?
Now, maybe be the best person that I can,
That's a
make my
good idea.
best.
That's a good idea. Let's say you do everything nice for everyone and do good things. Is that going to fix the bad things you've done in the past?
It doesn't change what I've made.
Correct, exactly. And so that's why living better won't get you into heaven. It will not get you to heaven. Instead, the only way for us to not end up in hell is if somebody is willing to take our hell punishment instead of us. Because if somebody takes 100% of your hell, how much hell is left for you to still get?
I can
So, so,
understand. Sorry.
so if
Repeat, please.
somebody takes 100% of all of your hell, how much hell is left for you to take?
A lot of hell.
But if someone took all of it, 100% of it instead of you, how much is left?
The 99.
Zero. If someone takes 100%, 100 minus 100 equals zero, right? Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah, it's like if you had a
Yes.
if you, it's like if you had a speeding fine and I paid your whole speeding fine for you, then how much is left for you to pay?
Nothing.
Exactly. And that's what we need someone to do for us in terms of our hell punishment, to take it on our behalf, pay it for us. And the only person who could do that for us was Jesus. That's why he died on the cross, taking the punishment for us on the cross and then came back to life 3 days later. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, if Jesus is to do that for you, then where would you get to go when you die?
I want to go to paradise.
If you have Jesus take your punishment, you get to go to paradise. So why do you get to go to paradise?
Because I love Jesus.
Well, not because of our love of Jesus, but because of what he did for us. And what did he do for you to go to heaven?
Die on a cross.
That's the reason. So we go to heaven not because of what we've done, but because of what he did for us. And he even does it as like a free gift to you. So you don't have to do anything good to get it. You just need to accept the gift from Jesus. And that's just to trust that he's already done it for you. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Right. But what if you don't trust that he's done that for you? Then where would you end up?
In hell.
Right. But since you don't want to go to hell, when should you start trusting that he's done that for you?
Sorry.
So when should you start trusting that Jesus died for your sins?
I don't know.
Yeah, because we don't know when we're going to die, do we? Could be any time. That's why this is so urgent. But let me ask you,
Yes.
what if today you do trust that Jesus took your punishment, but then tomorrow you happen to do 5 more bad things and then you died? Would you go to heaven or hell?
I think to heaven
Yes, and why?
because it's the most part of my life. I was a good person.
Okay, but just keep in mind though, with to end up in hell, you only have to do one bad thing. All right?
One thing
Just one
will
bad
send
thing.
me to hell.
Correct. Yeah, just like in society. You only have to break one law in society to be punished by the government. So we've only got to break one of God's laws to be punished by him. You see?
So I will go to hell and you.
Right, we deserve hell, but what was Jesus willing to do for us?
Save us.
He was willing to take the hell instead of us, right? And so, do you think that he took the punishment only for your past sins or also for your future sins?
For future too.
Correct. Which means even those 5 sins you do tomorrow, Jesus has already paid for them. And so that's why you'd still get to go to heaven. Not because you're a good person. No, none of us are. But because Jesus died for bad people like us. That's why we get to go to heaven. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah. And so if you stood before God today and he was to ask you, why should I let you into heaven? What would you say to him?
Because he dies for me.
That's the reason. That's the only reason. Because Jesus died for me, right? And so, do you think that you're going to believe that from today, that that's the reason you'll go to heaven?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, it makes sense to you.
It makes sense, and I like it. I like the religion and including others religions, but in my heart I still believe in what I
But I
believe.
think I
Like
understand. I understand. But I think the reason why you've liked what you've previously believed is because to think that you're God is a very like, wow, I think I'm special, I think I'm God, and therefore if you're God, you don't need to keep anyone else's rules because you're God, right? But this is the reality is that we're not God. And this is not our universe. We didn't make this place. And so therefore we should actually acknowledge that the real God, the real creator, he sets the rules. We should respect him and what he wants for us. Do you understand?
yes,
Yeah.
but how can you say that this is what he wants for us, from
Good,
us?
good question because he's actually given us a conscience. So he's written his laws on our hearts. So we already know how we should live. We know we shouldn't lie to people or steal from them or hurt them, be rude or disrespectful. We know we shouldn't do those things. And so that's why we can know how he expects for us to live. Yeah, and yet we've already
Okay,
broken his
that's a
laws.
good answer.
Yeah,
I've never think, yes, I've never think in this point, like,
yeah.
why? How can we say? And
Right.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
so let me ask you then, out of 100, how sure are you right now that you'll go to heaven when you die?
90%,
Okay, so why 10% not sure?
because no, I think 100%,
Okay, and why 100%?
because I'm in peace with my conscience.
Okay,
Like, I can make bad things, but I really try to make the best.
okay. But just keep in mind though, like if you look over your conscience, you think, reflect over your life for a moment. You know how many times you've been rude and disrespectful to people. Right? You know how many times you've lied and done other things wrong. So we're not. We can know that our conscience actually convicts us of doing wrong. And if only one sin is enough to send us to hell, you and me definitely deserve hell then, right? But think about what we've talked about so far. What was the reason we don't have to go to hell even though we deserve to go to hell?
Um, I deserve.
We deserve hell, but why don't we have to end up there?
Why?
Why?
Sorry,
So we deserve hell, but why don't we have to end up in hell?
because Jesus save us.
Exactly right. And so if it was based on our actions, you and me, we should go to hell. We definitely deserve it. But if it's based on what Jesus did, we can be 100% certain we're going to heaven because he took all the punishment for us, for all the wrong we've done. Right? But you have to
Yes.
trust. that's the reason you're going to heaven. If you think you're going to
And
heaven, oh, go ahead.
no, it's a different question.
Sure.
Like when someone is depression, I don't know how
Yeah.
to
Depression.
speak, or thinking in suicide, or you know these things,
Yeah, yeah.
like what the what can we do?
Yeah. Well, they're feeling that way could be because they're forgetting what life's about. Many people, they think life is about just the trying to be happy and trying to get lots of money and lots of different things here. But then when they get these things, they feel dissatisfied. They're like, it didn't make me as happy
Yes.
as I wanted it to be. Because we're actually made for something far beyond this life. We're made for the life that is to come. And so what I would do for someone like that is I'd tell them, hey, look, this life is temporary. We are passing by here, but there's something greater that is to come. And so I'd share with them the same message that I've shared with you about how we can actually have the certainty of going to heaven if we trust in what Jesus did for us. And once somebody trusts in that, honestly, they'll be a far different person. They'll be far more happier because they know that they're not living just for this temporary world. They're living for the world that is to come. And that gives you that hope and that peace. Yeah. But so based on what we've talked about though, does doing good things have any part in you going to heaven?
Sorry.
So does doing good things have any part in you going to heaven?
I don't know now, because if Jesus uh, will save us or make it.
Yeah. So he actually does as a free gift. Like if I was to tell you, here's a free gift, would you have to pay for it yourself?
No.
No. So that's the same thing with Jesus. He gives you heaven as a free gift. You don't have to do any good things to get it. You just accept it by believing he's died for me. That's why I go to heaven.
So I can make the wrong things.
Good question. Well, even though he will die for all the future bad things you do, but because you now love Jesus and you're thankful to him for what he's done for you, that's what will make you now want to obey him and not just do more wrong things. Do you understand?
Yes,
Yeah. And so then how sure are you that you'll go to heaven when you die?
100%.
And why?
Because he saved us.
That's the reason. Yes, that's the reason. And that's why our good actions have no part in getting us to heaven, because he did it all for us. But let's say you had a friend of yours who was to tell you that they think they're going to heaven because they're a good person. Would that person go to heaven or hell?
Uh, uh, to heaven, because if my friend believes that Jesus died for us, he's
Hmm.
going to heaven.
But based on what the friend said, what did he think was going to get him into heaven?
Based in what he's saying, to hell.
Yeah, because he thinks he's going to heaven because he's a good person, not because of Jesus. Because to believe in what Jesus did is to say, I'm going to heaven only because of what he did, not because of what I do. And so, yeah, that friend would actually end up in hell based on what he's believing. But let's say there was another friend of yours who said to you, he thinks he's going to heaven because of two reasons. First reason was because Jesus died for him. Second reason is because he thinks he's a good person. Where would he end up?
In heaven.
Now, is he trusting only in Jesus to get him into heaven?
Only in Jesus?
Yeah, is it only Jesus or is it 50% Jesus, 50% himself?
50% each.
Right. And so therefore, is he really believing that Jesus died for all of his sins?
Yes.
He wouldn't be believing all if he thinks it's 50% Jesus, 50% himself, right? And so therefore, where would he end up?
In heaven.
It would actually still be hell, right? Because for Jesus to die for us, we have to believe that it's only him, what he's done, that gets us into heaven, and not what we do. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah. And so for yourself, if you had died before this conversation started today, then where would you have ended up?
In hell.
Right. But if you died this very second, where would you go?
In heaven.
Right. So it'd actually make this conversation a big turning point in your life, wouldn't it?
It's
Right?
important. And I need to know why you're here in Omegle having this conversation, because it's not uh normal. It's not, it doesn't happen like a lot of
Yeah,
times.
yeah. Yeah, good
Strange.
question. So the reason is because I know that I don't want people to go to hell. And I know that there's 41,000 people on Omegle right now, and most of them do not know the way to get to heaven. And so the most loving thing for me to do is actually to tell them the way about how they can actually go to heaven. Yeah. And if you
Okay,
do believe this for yourself now, I think you'll be quite grateful that you got to hear the way to get to heaven, right?
cool.
Because think about your
Yes,
family. Think about your family and your friends. If you were to ask them why they think they'll go to heaven, what would their answer be?
because of her attitudes,
Right. Yeah.
their attitudes.
Yeah, exactly. So if they died today, where are they currently going?
To hell.
So what could you do to help them not go there?
I can teach
Yeah, you can share this
and have
message.
these conversations.
Exactly right. Good idea. That's what Jesus wants us to do, is to pass this good news on to others. Absolutely.
Okay.
And do you have a Bible at home?
Um, I didn't.
No?
I
You can,
don't.
that's okay. You can even download one on your phone. If you go to you can get one in English or maybe even your own language in the App Store or online, you can read it. But I'd recommend starting in the book of John. John's in the second half of the Bible. It just gives you a really good introduction to what Jesus said and what he did. So definitely recommend you do
Okay.
that. And did you have any questions or any comments yourself?
No, thank you for this.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And
My name's Ryan. I was going to say I'm from Australia. What was your name?
Australia.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. I'm from Brazil,
nice.
and my name is Beatriz. Beatrice.
Beatrice. Oh, lovely. What's really wonderful to meet you, Beatrice. And I'd say this is no accident that God connected us together so that you could hear this. And
I
so,
believe it.
awesome. And so, do take this.
Nothing is the next.
Absolutely, yeah. And so, do take this seriously. I hope that you will believe it. And when you do, if you do now believe what Jesus has done for you, you'll find yourself now wanting to avoid sin, not lie, not steal, not swear, not use bad words, or even get drunk. We don't want to be doing that because we know these are sins against God. So not that you'll be perfect, but you'll just slowly get better and better as time goes on. Does that make sense?
Okay.